before we start here, well, a few details to know when you first start applying your liquid metal. If you start out with a fresh applicator, once you start trying to squish down the liquid metal, it will try to run away from you and bead away. So take your time, and once it starts looking like it's sticking to the IHS, well, don't just start spreading it out. Work in one spot continuously with a bit of firm pressure until it starts feeling like it's binding, like chalk on chalkboard, or until it starts literally squeaking. That way you know the liquid metal has adhered to the oxide layer of the silicone.
You're looking for an audible squeak.
Yes.
Okay.
One way to make sure you don't splooge out a large amount of liquid metal is to put your finger right between here, press your thumb firmly onto your thumb without feeling like you're pressing on the plunger, and slowly shift that pressure onto the plunger. You can even loosen up your stopgap finger. And as it goes down, you can readjust your grip so your fingers don't get tired, because it will be discomfortable. Will be uncomfortable. Perfect amount to start with. We'll end up using more and throwing away a little, because when you get through that oxide layer or whatever junk is on the surface, there will be some indium out of the liquid metal that will separate.
Move your hand down a bit. I can hear that squeak, yeah.
Now this surface is nice and clean, so it'll adhere quite easily. Once you got that, you just slowly work out
Until it reaches the edges.
until you get full coverage and there's no spots that don't squeak. Doing this ensures that you collect any junk that may be still on the surface and ensures you have a long-term application of liquid metal. Now you can just brush all the junk to the edge,
Leaving it nice and clean. Yeah, that looks good.
preventing any solid chunks of indium from ending up under the IHS or cooler. Just flaking off anything that turned solid. Now, pick up some of that liquid metal. Now that that surface is prepared, most certainly, you do not need to worry about going too far off the pattern where your IHS clearly will reside on top of the silicone. But the closer you are to the edge, the better for the long term. And in case you have any small components next to your silicone. You can clearly put some firm pressure down. Get through any oxide layer or thermal paste that may have been left from your previous cleaning process. You will run out of liquid metal if you used a little bit first. Feeling like you need to add a little bit more. Right now we're just preparing the surface. Spot that has not been cleaned has started squeaking, which means any junk there is quite possibly gone now.
So to recap, if it squeaks, it's good to go.
Pretty much. The liquid metal will adhere quite well and should last a long time if you have enough liquid metal. And if you feel like your spot's not quite squeaking enough, like it's not binding, feeling like you're on a smooth surface, you can use more pressure on the IHS than you would on the silicone. But since the silicone has a oxide layer put on by Intel, it will adhere to it quite well because the metals they use to create that oxide layer are very similar to gallium and indium. My hands hurt.
Yeah. It's a bit of work. In most application videos, you don't see people work it as much as this.
Because they have no idea.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, clearly there's a black layer of something there.
In a couple of videos, I've seen people just slap it on like any other thermal paste, you know?
Yeah. And that's not going to work long term. Because once that indium, once that gallium dries out, all that's left is going to be indium, and if there's contaminants on either the IHS, copper, or the silicone, it's going to delaminate during a cool down cycle, and you're going to turn your computer on and a black screen, or your computer beeps at you saying that it's overheating.
You'll have temperature increases as it delaminates. That's what you're saying.
Well, as it's hot, you won't notice because the contact is still there. It hasn't completely delaminated. But once you shut your computer down, it will go down to ambient temperature and will separate from either the IHS cooler or the GPU or CPU silicone. I experienced that with my brother's 260X. Where there wasn't enough liquid metal I applied, And 6 months later, his computer didn't turn on until I put more liquid metal on it. Most definitely do not use this stuff with any aluminum heatsink. Or any aluminum that is within 3 millimeters of the applied location of the cooler. Because this stuff will spread.